In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Dr. Dennis Whitfield, who is a podcast host, transformational coach, and keynote speaker, whose 23 years of U.S. Army service laid the foundation for his leadership expertise. Originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and now based in Petersburg, Virginia, he holds a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology, plus multiple graduate credentials in evidence-based coaching and leadership. By fusing psychological insights with practical strategies and guided by the Genesis 1:28, called to be fruitful and multiply, he empowers individuals and organizations to shatter limiting beliefs, cultivate authentic leadership, and ignite lasting growth. Renowned for his compassion, humility, and deep human connection, Dr. Whitty doesn't just develop leaders, he transforms lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you all to Dr. Dennis Whitfield. Okay, we're having some technical difficulties here. Hello, Dr. Whitfield.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
All right. As you can see, this is not my usual place, but oh well, we can't control everything, right?
Yes, sir. See, you got stuck in traffic. I'm sorry to hear that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You froze a little bit a few seconds ago, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Now, I say I'm sorry that you got stuck in traffic.
Oh, that's okay. It's moving now, so I'm gonna try to stick with you as long as I can until I get to my office and get a better hookup.
Yes, sir. I was, and just looking at and asking you, of course, to be a guest. I'm so honored to have you on the show. It's the things that you're doing to help people in the community, which are so very, very important. And I think those are some things that not only will the audience get the opportunity to learn from, but I think also it's going to help a lot of people to be able to develop skills and life skills that's most likely going to do a lot for them. I want to start with the work that you do as a transformational coach. If you can tell us what inspired you to pursue the path of transformational coaching.
First, I want to just say thank you, Charles, for having me on your platform. It's an honor to be invited. You can't trust everybody on your platform, so I'm just honored that you chose me to come on and to be a light and inspiration to your viewers and listeners. So that's first. Um, as far as coaching goes, I think what made me want to pursue coaching is it was something that I did a lot of without actually uh, trying to, and not actually knowing that that is what I was actually doing. I didn't have a definition for it, but as I think about experiences in life and situations, and many of the people that I've come in contact with, and the conversations, and how um, certain things I might say um, would impact their lives and change perspectives. It was just something that I was always doing, and so when I came across that as a field, I thought that it was fitting for me, and so that's what I pursued.
So, how do you define transformation in your coaching practice?
Transformation in my coaching practice, the way I define that is simply a change of perspective. It's nothing magical. Um, I like to tell people it's not magical. It's not a secret formula, but it's simply transformation. That means I thought this way, and then now I'm thinking another way. And so I believe that until our situation or whatever it is that we're thinking, um, what, okay, the way to put it, that once our situation, we can see it differently or it is transfigured, then that's when we reach perspective transformation, if that makes
So,
sense.
what's the first breakthrough you remember facilitating for a client?
So ask me that one more time.
What's the first breakthrough you remember facilitating for a client?
Could you hear me, Charles?
Yet now I can hear you. You was totally
Okay.
completely frozen.
Okay.
The question was, what is the first breakthrough you remember facilitating for a client?
Um, the first breakthrough I can remember is I was working with a soldier, and basically it was um, me just finding out first of all what the goal and it, the goal and intention was, whatever goal or objective that that person had in mind. And so once you find out what the overall goal is, and then you start to ask questions to see that person's perspective and how they think about their situation, and also how they think about themselves, and whether or not they feel that they even have the potential to do something. And this is just, I don't want to call it a small um, example, but this is just an example of a small breakthrough where I had a soldier who was attempting to go out to become a part of a certain organization. And so I would ask him, well, what are the objectives that you're trying to reach? One of the objectives that he wanted to reach was he had to climb a rope, and he had to get all the way to the top of the rope, which was no short distance. It was quite a long distance, and so um, basically, I had to talk to him and encourage him. Hey, this you can do it, and then ask him, why was he, hesitant? Why was he perhaps afraid? Things of that nature. Make a long story short. Um, of course, I talked to him. Sometimes I even, had to provide different examples, experiences of my own life, and then um, one day I just actually saw the light bulb come on after talking to him, after training with him. I saw the light bulb come on in his eyes, and I knew from that point that once he mounted that rope, he was going up to the top, and he actually did. And that was just a small goal that he reached. And that's how coaching works. It doesn't matter how small or how large the goal is, but what coaches do, what we do is we find out what the goal is, what the objective is. We help clients realize that they're able to do it, that they hold the power and the key to their own answers. So we ask powerful questions. We allow them to come up with their answers, and then once that light bulb come on, or that epiphany, or that aha, or as some say, that eureka moment happens, um, soar.
So is it, yeah, so like so when you're doing transformational coaching, is it more like you are actually doing some things to talk them through techniques, but also motivating and inspiring your clients to just do better or to see better?
So in coaching, there is some inspiration there. There's inspiration, and there's a little bit of motivation as well. But mostly, what transformational coaching is it is asking powerful questions to have the client, search within themselves for the answers that are already in there. Coaching is not. It's a mutual relationship. It's not a person coming to me for advice. It's not a person coming to me for a consultation. It's not a person coming to me for counseling or therapy, things of that nature. It's a person coming to me because they are stuck somewhere and they're trying to see, okay, where do I go from here? How can I proceed from here? So the idea is that that person is they doesn't need to be therapized, but they are already whole, and that they just hit a roadblock, and they need some assistance to get them to move to their next level.
Okay. Oh wow, that's pretty interesting. So so do you have to use any other than I guess the techniques of helping them to realize or to rationalize? Do you use any other tools when it comes to your coaching techniques?
Yes, there are a lot of different tools that we can use. Um, there are a lot of different frameworks that we use, such as, and just to name, one I like to use SMART goals. I like to use, they've added to that. Now they have a newer version called Smarter Goals. Um, and that's basically a framework that you break it down into the acronym. And let's see, the S is you got to be specific about your goal. Your goal has to be measurable. Your goal has to be attainable. Um, and it has to also be time bound. That means it has to be, you have to add a time to it. You can't just say, oh, I want to graduate, but you don't have a idea of when you want to actually graduate. So that's just one of them. One of the
Okay.
tools that I, one of the tools that I like to use is definitely that. the SMART model, but there's also the GROW model, and there's other models too. GROW is for goal. It's a goal, reality, options, and will. That person's will to obtain that goal. That means they create a goal. It has to be a goal that they can reach in reality. And then also, um, you talk with them about different options concerning that goal. So those are two models that I like to use: the GROW and the SMART model.
So, how do you integrate cultural identity and history into personal development?
Say that one more time. How do I integrate what?
Integrate cultural identity and history into personal development.
Well, I think that in order to do that, um, whoever I'm working with, they have to have a bit of cultural humility. And that's basically when we understand cultural humility is me understanding my biases as it relates to different culture, different aspects of people's culture or their identity, and so forth. That person has to have a bit of cultural humility so that they can learn and grow. Because if we don't exercise that cultural humility, we can't really develop the way that we could develop. You know, living in today's society, there are plenty of examples of people from various locations around the world, many different languages, many different philosophies. And so, in order for us to develop as a human, we have to be willing to recognize what we don't know, not only what we don't know about others, but what we don't know about ourselves. We have to be self aware and be willing to face the fact that we have certain biases, and then be willing to be open enough so that we can learn about our biases and be able to learn about aspects of other people's cultures. Not only that is important to us, but is also important to them, and then that way we better relate. And so, in terms of a coaching client, if their objective was to, you know, be more open or relatable or to be more social, then that's something that I would talk to them about is, are you culturally humble enough to learn about your biases in terms of interacting with other people? Are you open enough to learn about other people and things that are important to them versus only wanting to know what you want to know about aspects of people's culture?
So, from a community perspective, Dr. Whitty, just when it comes to like transformational coaching and some of the things that are happening, within our communities today, what are some things you see that that when it comes to just dealing with communities in general, that transformational coaching can help?
It looks like I lost you. Are you there?
I'm here, you're dark.
It looks like I lost you. Are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here. You're dark. Your background, your screen is black.
For some reason, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if you can hear me. For some reason, I can't hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna try to log in on my other. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to try to log in. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apologize for that. I have made it to my office space, so I'm going to continue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I was just saying, when it comes to a lot of our communities today, what are some of the things that you see that as far as being a transformational coach, that you see could actually help a lot of people in the community?
I think just belief in oneself. There are many people. There are many people who just don't believe that they can achieve the goals that they really want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, it could be upbringing. Maybe they didn't have that. They didn't have that inspiration from their family, their loved ones. They didn't get that push from someone that they was hoping would believe in them. I think a lot of it is just needing to realize that you can achieve what you dream about, making dreams into a reality. There's a lot of discouragement going on, not only from people in the home, but also people that are outside the home that people interact with every day. So I think a challenge for most people today is just making sure that they surround themselves with people that will encourage them to go after their dreams and people that will encourage them to reach their potential. And what you see a lot of is a lot of negativity in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of people, instead of wanting to lift you up, they're instead wanting to put you down. And anybody, you ever heard of that? You heard of it, crab in the barrel mentality.
Yes, sir.
Or the flea mentality. I like the flea mentality, and that is, if you don't know, you could put a bunch of fleas in a cup and then cover the cup, and the fleas will continue to fly around, and then they will hit the top of the cup where where you had a lid on it, or if you put plastic, they'll keep hitting it. And after a while, you can take that lid off and they'll never come out of the cup because their minds are programmed that is as high as they could go. And so that's what I see a lot of in our community is, I can't go but this high. We've been told so long that we cannot do this or cannot do that. We could never become this, never become that. And so that's what a lot of people think. And it's really hard to break that from a person's perspective when all they see sometimes is trauma and negativity. But they have to be willing to allow a person to speak into their life, and they have to be willing to listen and to try new things in order to break through.
So just thinking about that, because that's very sensible, and I love the way you just put that analogy. But and let's just say, in being a product of their environment, how deep does that go?
Oh, it can go really deep. It really just depends on the person's experiences,
Mhm.
and that's where a person have to determine what type of service they actually need. Because, like I said, you know, I'm a coach. A lot of people get coaching, mixed up with, or some people just think, oh, coaching is just another form of therapy. It's another form of counseling, consulting, advising, even mentoring. But coaching is none of those things.
Mhm.
Coaching is, I hit a roadblock. I don't need you to dig into my past. What I need you to help me do is go into the future.
Okay. What role does emotional intelligence play in your coaching framework?
So, emotional intelligence definitely plays a part, because you have to be patient with the process. You have to be a person that's open, again, open and self aware. You have to be willing to experience change, and you have to be willing to confront the areas of your life that are being challenged. And so, if you're a person who, you know, can't who can't handle that, or just simply do not want to do that, then it's going to be impossible for you to change your perspective. It's the same way in therapy. If a person's not ready to do the work, um, nothing's going to happen, because I'm not here to tell a person what to do. What I'm here for is to find out, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to become? What objectives, what goals are you trying to reach? And then I hold you accountable by asking you powerful questions. And I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you want to go, you're somebody, and maybe you're stuck and you're trying to figure out um, whether or not you want to go to college and graduate. Maybe that's your goal, right? So then now I'm going to ask you, okay, well, you want to go to college and graduate. Well, what college do you want to go to? Have you searched any colleges? I'm going to ask you, do you have a certain time frame that you want to graduate? I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do about a support group while you're in college? Because you're going to reach a time where you might be ready to give up. So I'm going to ask you questions that you may not ever think about, so that you do think about it and add it to your process. And all the while, you're the one that's coming up with what you want to do and how you're going to reach your goal. And then I'm coming back and I'm holding you accountable. I come back and I say, did you get the grade you were looking for this semester? No. Well, what do you think hindered you from achieving that success? And then that person searches their own heart and mind, and tell me what they believe hindered them, and then we work on that. Well, such and such hindered you. Well, why? Well, because I was feeling anxiety. Well, and now my next question is, where do you think that anxiety is coming from? So just asking them questions to get them to think about their own process, and help them to move forward.
Mm. Can you share a moment when coaching someone impacted your own growth?
Oh, every time. Every time, because um, there's always something to learn. There's always something that I learn and take away from every process. And so a key for me is never to go into a session judgmental,
Mhm.
but to always be humble, always be open, because it's a learning process for the coach as well as the client.
Mhm.
So I would say every time I learn something, because there are times where I see myself or saw myself in the client, and I
Mhm.
see how they work through the process and see how they overcome different challenges and things of that nature. So I would say I learn something every single time.
Oh wow. You know what's interesting about that? is to get close with a client like that and to learn those things. um do you get to see, um I guess, the authenticity or the vulnerability of those clients, or do you also get clients that are doing the faking part, the make believe part?
I definitely, humility is always, or I should say, well, humility, but I want to say humility and authenticity. Those are key factors, not only in coaching, but therapy, counseling, uh, advising, mentoring, but
Mhm.
specifically coaching. The client has to be authentic, and so does the coach, because one of the things that we normally do, and I'll just talk about me, what normally, before even accepting a client, or moving forward with the process, there's sort of a triage process where we figure out if it's a right fit or not, because you don't want to be um, paired with a coach or a therapist or a mentor that is not the right fit. Because if it's not the right fit, the process is not going to work. So that client has to be uh, comfortable enough to be open with that person that is there to support them. And that coach has to show up without the judgment hat on, because here's the thing: clients can detect very fast if you are a person that is judgmental, and that is the quickest way to make a client uncomfortable and not want to open up to you or go through the process with you. So it's important that clients know that they don't have to. I let my clients know, you do not have to select me as your coach. I would like to coach you. However, if you determine at any time that this is not the right relationship or the right fit, then I can refer them to another coach, or they can also go to another coach at their own will.
Mm. So let's transition over to some of the work you do as a keynote speaker. Um, what themes do you most often speak about, and why do they resonate so deeply?
Um, One of the things that I really like to talk about is leadership and communication.
Hmm.
Those are two themes that are near and dear to my heart. Uh, Number one, because I love everything there is to like and not like about leadership.
Hmm.
And I don't exactly know why. I just feel like that's a part of uh, the call on my life, is to learn about it and to become better at it. So that's why I'm so passionate about leadership. And I tell people all the time, leadership is not easy. Leadership is not final. It's a life journey. It's not a destination. Because you're a leader, it doesn't mean that you're perfect, that you're never going to falter or fail. But leadership is all about attitude and going through experiences and learning from it and being able to share those life experiences with the people that you inspire, that you lead, and just to be the best example that you can possibly be. Communication is important to me because there's so much of it that we are lacking these days. I always say that we are the most connected generation, but yet the most disconnected. Um, because we have all these social media apparatuses, platforms, everything, but yet we can't hold a conversation with the person standing right next to us. Um, and so communication is something that I feel that we are losing to all the technology that's happening. When you think about it, um, just how we use AI and things like that, everything is getting to a point where now I don't have to think. All I have to do is press a button and create whatever it is. But when I'm standing in a room with somebody, I don't know how to socialize, or I take everything personal, or I'm popping off, or I'm stressing out, because we have gone from being able to talk to people to just, doing this and tap, 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 tap. So those are things that are important to me. Communication, leadership. Those are things that I talk about in my talks.
Well, but let me just ask you a follow-up question to that, because you said something that really resonates, but it also is something that's really meaningful when we talk about today's society. When you mentioned, how we're the most connected, disconnected people, and you also mentioned social media and AI. Are you thinking, or is it your belief that this has got something to do with instant gratification, that people don't feel like they need to have to think and they're just entitled to having the answer? Or do they feel like just working to get that answer is just so much that it's just not worth doing?
Honestly, I think it's both, because it's that instant gratification, and then when you think about that, that's the addiction and the addictive part of it. Instant
Mhm.
gratification. I want to say we, but I don't. Well, I'll say we, because if you look at, let's say, for instance, I was sitting in a doctor's office one day, and it was really quiet, and I was just sitting there thinking, and I said, wow, it's really quiet in here. But when I looked up, every single person in the doctor's waiting room had their heads down and they were swiping. No, there was no conversation. Everybody was looking at their devices, swiping. And I thought, wow, nobody's saying good morning. How are you doing? Nobody's carrying on a conversation about what's in the news, who played the game, who won the game, nothing. And so I feel like, in a way, technology takes away that social ability that we gathered growing up, when we had to actually speak to people and talk to people. And now our this generation is growing up not even liking talking to other people. Like, don't talk to me. That's the attitude. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I could walk down the street and say good morning, and the person will keep walking, and then I'll have to say good morning to myself.
Yep. Yep.
So it's it's addictive in nature, and a lot of people don't see that. But when you try to tell them to put their phone down for a minute, people go crazy. Like, if you leave your house, some people will leave their house. Oh my God, I don't have my phone, and they gotta go get that phone because they're not gonna live without it. But we had no phones years ago, and we were perfectly fine.
Dude.
If somebody tried to call us, then they had to wait until we were home, or something like that. But
Yep.
today, people will fight over a phone. A child will fight. As a matter of fact, shoot, I think it was in the news at one point that a child killed his parent over a phone, because the parent wanted to take the phone away from the child because the child was so busy on the phone. Um, don't quote me, because I remember something like that, but I'm going to leave it at that because I don't have all the information. But that is how addictive this technology is that it breaks up families and it breaks up friends. And it also can destroy people who don't know how to use it, because everything is out there on the internet. And as you can see through some of the examples, that people are out there doing stuff, and then they get fired, or have to resign, or whatever, get caught doing whatever it is. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it is the addictive part of it, but I also think that because people are so addicted to it, that whenever they are challenged to actually use their mind to think, it becomes hard work. because they haven't been using it so long. And what does the adage say? Use it or lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And using your mind it takes work. It's exercise. And so when you go from not using your mind to attempting to use it, then your body's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not used to actually being challenged here. So what happens? The person gets frustrated and stops.
Mm.
That's why when we pick up a book and try to read, we fall asleep. Because if you don't read, it's too much on your mind. But anything that you want to do that you don't have to take a whole lot of effort to do, that's become addictive to you, you don't find a problem doing that.
So, how do you prepare emotionally for a keynote that demands vulnerability?
That is a good question. How do I prepare emotionally? First of all, I have to make sure that I'm not in my emotions. Because, and the reason why I say that is because if you are in your emotions and yet you're trying to deliver a keynote that requires vulnerability, if you're in your emotions, it could cause you to not be obedient to whatever you are supposed to say. Um, it also can cause you to say things that you're not supposed to say. And so that's why one of the things that I do with my podcast is, and because you've been on my podcast, that's why one of the things I do is I have an agenda and I have talking points. And my guests often ask me, well, are we going to be going by this, or are we going to be scripted or whatever? Because I just want to be authentic, raw, or real, as some people put it. And I always respond by saying the reason why I have this agenda or script, if you will, is because if something gets into my emotions or gets into your emotions, we can still stay on track and not take the show somewhere that it's not supposed to go.
Okay.
And so that is why before you speak, if you have to be vulnerable, you should center yourself. Definitely make sure that you sit and have a peaceful, quiet time. I will do that for at least I like to be left alone at least 2 hours before I have to do a speech. Just leave me alone. Don't say anything to me. All I want to drink is water, and it's probably one person. There's only one person that I may choose to hear from if something happens that you have to say something to me. Otherwise, everybody else just leave me alone. I just want to focus. I want to breathe. I want to think about what's about to happen. I want to pray. I want to make sure that what I'm about to talk about is going to be impactful, but impactful the right way and not my way.
What's one keynote moment that changed someone's life or yours?
I tell you a keynote, and I may not even. I could say it. I could say it was a keynote, but it was um, years ago. Um, years ago, I did a sermon, and don't go there. I see you. Don't go there. But years ago, I did a sermon, and I'll think about what the title was. But there was a part of the message that I see you T007 laughing. oh gosh, I wish I could remember the title of it. I can't right now, but anyway, something that impacted my life profoundly, and I know that it impacted others, was I was just sort of encouraging people to be consistent, to be steadfast, to be faithful in the midst of whatever you may be going through, to
Mhm.
stay consistent. And at the end, I talked about I talked about jewelry, and this was something that I felt like God had given me, like I just didn't know where it came from. But anyway, I was talking to people about their value, and I was looking for a way to explain value. And I said, do you ever remember walking into a jewelry store? I said, you walk into a jewelry store and there's different levels. I
Mhm.
said, I said, you walk in some places and you see jewelry that's just sitting out there that people can just walk by and pick up. They can touch it.
Mhm.
They can do whatever. They can put it on. They can put it back. Whatever the case, they can steal it. Everything. And I said that type of jewelry is not valuable. That's why it's out there. It's meant to be a distractor to the real thing. And I said, but then there's another kind. There's jewelry that sits, in a case where you can't just touch it. You have to ask somebody behind the counter, hey, can I see that? Can I see that piece right there? Now, that piece you might be able to actually try it on, but you still have to give it back so they can put it back. The jewelry that's in the case, that jewelry is insured because it's more valuable. So I talked to them. I said, but then there's another type of jewelry that you don't even see, that you don't even know is there. There's jewelry that you don't see. In fact, nobody will even bring that jewelry out to you if they don't believe that you can even afford it. And so that's jewelry that they keep hidden in vaults that they only bring out for certain people. And so I was explaining to the people that I was talking to that you want to be that jewelry that's in the vault, that's not touched by everybody,
Mhm.
that's not in everybody's presence.
Mhm.
And when I did that talk, not only did that do something to me, but I could see it. I could see it resonate with the people that heard it. And so that meant something. And that's what I look for when uh, I deliver a keynote of any kind, is
Mhm.
I want to know, did you get it?
Mhm.
You don't have to clap, you don't have to shout, you don't have to even like me. Did you get it? Did something that I said or showed you in the message, did it transform your thinking process? That's what I want to know.
Mhm.
If it didn't transform your thinking process, then I did not do what I didn't do what I needed to do.
Mhm.
Either that, or you was just not open to receive it.
Mhm.
One or the other.
So, with all your keynote speeches, do you try to add a bit of emotion to each of them all the time in order to get the message across?
Well, emotion is always involved. It's just to what degree.
Mhm.
Um, because emotions have to be controlled, you
Yes.
know, because we all know they can be uncontrolled. We see it every day, right? But there's always a bit of emotion in every presentation. It doesn't matter who it is. It can be subtle or it can be blatant. It can be boom in your face, but there's always a little bit. The key is um, how that emotion shows up.
Mhm.
Does it show up in an impactful way
Mm.
and impact people positively, or does it show up and then actually make the room sour?
Ooh.
And so that right there, the responsibility is on the person standing, in front of the people, because ultimately you're going to project. What you project is going to be the atmosphere in the room. So if you get up there and let's say you get up there and you have an attitude and you're nasty, it's going to project onto your audience, and then they're going to project it right back onto you.
Ooh. Well, I'm sorry, but look, that's not a nice looking picture.
That's why, as a speaker, you have to make sure that you center yourself, and that you make sure that before you go out there, that whatever is on you is off, unless it's what's supposed to be on you. Because if it's one of the things I must do is I have to. That's why I said 2 hours. I leave me alone, because here's the thing: you don't know what I may have encountered that day before I got to you.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
But it also, that's also not the responsibility of the people that you came to speak to. They didn't come to hear about your bad day.
Mm.
I told a person a couple years ago, when I showed up to a hotel, we were going to an event, and make a long story short, the reservations got mixed up. I knew that I was right. The person behind the counter challenged me several times, became nasty about it. And so before I walked away, the manager had came out and cleared it up and let me know that it was their mistake, as far as our hotel accommodations, and then gave us keys and everything. And then before I left, I asked the manager for that person's name that I was dealing with. And so the next morning when I came down for breakfast, that person happened to be working, and I came around the corner, and it was a female, and I can't remember her name, but I'll just say Lisa, just for an example. And I said, Lisa, I said, good morning, how are you? And I said, give me a high five. And when she touched my hand, she just broke down and started crying. And I said, why are you crying? And she apologized for her attitude and her actions the day before. And so what I said to her was, it's okay, but I want you to remember this one thing. I said, nobody who comes here for service deserves your bad day. Nobody deserves that. It's the same thing for a speaker. Nobody deserves your bad day. So whatever you come to do, you have to make sure you come to do just that. And if you can't, then you might have to be here. Here's where the humility comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak today.
Oh. On the day of the speech.
Because pride will tell you, I can't do that.
Mm.
Pride will tell you, I'm the main speaker. I have to speak. Pride will tell you all sorts of things.
Right.
But if you know deep down inside that something is going on that might get into your message that doesn't need to be there, that you might project onto the people that come to see you,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be humble enough, obedient enough, considerate enough to say, you know what, I can't go on today.
Mm. Wow. But
And you might, and
something,
you
I
go
think
ahead, go ahead.
that displays a lot, though. I will say that, as I just think about the sense in which you just said that actually says a lot about that person, because that's high character to know that, hey, at this point, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. I can't do it because what I'm about to do is so important that I can't risk. I can't risk giving people bad information, wrong information, hurtful information. I can't risk it. Mm-hmm. So it's better that somebody get mad at me because I didn't speak. or they had 10,000 people and I was supposed to speak, but I couldn't. I mean, it's better to do that than to go out there and to regret what you just did if it's not what you were supposed to do. And I think people would appreciate that, um, rather than you just going out there because your name was on the marquee and because you were invited and because people wanted to see you. It takes a lot for a person to say, you know what, I value this, but I value you more.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to sit down today. And perhaps I have to come back another time, or we see how that works out.
How do you tailor your message for audiences of different cultural or social backgrounds?
The way I tailor my message is, you always have to know who your audience is. So if somebody invites me to speak, the first thing I want to know is, tell me a little bit about the audience that I'm going to be talking to. I want you to tell me what you want the key takeaways to be for your audience, for the audience that I'm coming to speak to. Because I want to make sure that I'm in line with your mission or your vision. I
Mhm.
want to know that when I get up and speak, that I'm not wasting my time, talking about something that you're not going to, uh, that you're not going to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Understand?
You're not going to understand, that you're not going to support, that you're not going to enforce in a way. That's not really the word I want to say, but basically, I want to make sure that when I'm not there, whatever it was that I said, that you're actually using it and implementing it. Not that I say it, but I mean, you heard it from me, but it's not reiterated throughout the organization so that it can change or your mindset can change. It does no good for an organization to call in a person to coach a team if the teams are not going to use it, or if the managers or executives are not going to use the tools that you talk to them about, that you showed them how to use, that you practice with them. It does no good if the person's going to leave and then everybody's going to throw everything away and start doing things as usual. The culture will not shift.
Mm.
The culture will remain the same.
So, what historical figures, speech styles most influence your own delivery?
Um, wow. Historical figures that influence my speech style.
Mhm.
Um, I would say, speaking wise, I think the first person that really ignited passion in me, that really, I mean, I used to sneak away and when I was in boot camp to watch him, TD Jakes. I used to sneak away. I wasn't supposed to be watching, but I used to sneak away because I wanted to see him talk about things.
Mhm.
Um, and another person is Joyce Meyer,
Okay.
because I used to see Joyce Meyer on TV, and I used to always say, you know what, I can't. Who is this old lady? I don't want to listen to her. But one day I was quickened, and I didn't turn the channel, and I started listening to her, and I said, oh man, this is really good. Um, so Bishop Jakes, Joyce Meyer, also John Maxwell.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't call them historical figures, but they are fit. Uh, they are key players today. Um, but historically, um, Martin Luther King is definitely one that I was always interested in. Although I never really heard a bunch of his speeches, but I did hear the "I Have a Dream" speech, um, and just what he stood for and how his service to humanity was an inspiration. So he's one at the top of the list. So those
So
are a few. Go ahead.
so let's talk a little bit about the Dr. Witty Today podcast. Tell us what motivated you to launch Dr. Witty Today.
Well, you know, I wanted a platform so that I could inspire, motivate, to equip and empower. And now you might say there's lots of podcasts out there that do that, and you would be correct. Um, what I didn't like is that I see a lot of podcasts, and I feel like a lot of it is not geared towards uplifting our community. Now, there are some out there that do, but there are many out there that talk trash about everybody. That the only all I see is somebody trying to build a platform off of other people's weaknesses, their failures, their idiosyncrasies, um,
Mhm.
and that it saddens me really, because we are the only community that seems like it's just such an easy thing to do, second nature, to just put each other down and hold each other back. And so I wanted to do something where, people could come, talk about different things. I could share knowledge. You could share knowledge with me. We could empower and build, and not talk negativity, or negative about one another, not invite that into the space. So basically, I wanted to create a space, not only a safe space, but a brave space,
Mhm.
where people could come and feel safe, but also be brave enough to talk about whatever it is that we're discussing.
Mhm.
And so that's what inspired me to create Dr. Witty Today.
Well, I tell you, I love Dr. Witty Today. I really do.
Thank
And
you.
even though I was a guest, and when I look at your show, truly, as you say, that is the thing, that I find to be one of the most powerful and most prosperous things about, your show and a lot of other shows, because I will tell you, um, what I have done is, just like I go and I vet guests, I also go and I look at different shows, just like you just mentioned, and those that I find that do the things that what you mentioned, those are the shows that I actually subscribe to, and I try to get myself closely connected to those hosts, because if we don't do what's necessary to send out the positive message, how the hell are people going to get it and just realize that we're just more than this anyway? And it's that trash TV has just taken over, to where these people are like doing some of any and everything. Actually, Dr. Whitty, there's been quite a few guests that have actually, that I thought I wanted to be guests on my show. And, and going through that vetting process, believe it or not, I have turned people down. And it was just like, no, we'll have to probably try this another time, just being nice about that, but, not everybody's going to make the cut, because, when you get those vibes, and this is the honest to God truth, I'm a vibey person. But when you get those vibes and you can see it and you hear it in the voice and the tone, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. But I will tell you, I love your show, because I love the evolution that you've got going, especially here in your second season. To where you can actually see that there's that growing process, and so that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. And it's like it's all about getting the real thing, not that play stuff. I'm sorry, but I mean, I agree with you on that, and
I mean,
it's something we have to do, though.
let's face it. We don't need another podcast to tell us about, you know, Chris Brown or uh, shoot, I can't even. Nothing's coming
Brianna,
to me. Rihanna, uh, Donald Trump. We don't need anybody else to tell us about it. It's everywhere all the time. Let's bring something that people could use to really just focus on themselves so that we can become better people.
yes,
And I think that's the reason why we have so much stuff going on in this world today, is because we are focused so much on everything and everybody else, and we won't place any of that focus on us. We will not do the self care, and we will not do the work, because for most of us, the work is too hard. And it's literally not too hard. It's just, do I want to change? Do I want to be better? Do I want to go to the next level? Am I capable of getting there? um but this is what I believe. And you can tell me what you think about this. I believe that most of us are afraid to do better, because once we do better, we become accountable.
mm,
You ever heard somebody say that I'm afraid to be successful? Because once
that's
I'm
true.
successful, I have to be accountable, because now I'm somewhere, and now there's expectation upon my life.
Hmm.
As long as I'm somewhere where nobody expects anything out of me, I'm comfortable. I don't
Hmm.
have to explain myself to anybody.
Hmm.
All I have to do is do whatever I want, and people will leave me alone.
Mm,
But when you want to grow, when you want to do something great, you can't do it without being accountable.
right.
Somebody's going to be watching. The people who want you to succeed is going to watch, and the people that want you to fail is going to be watching.
Hmm.
But no matter who's watching, you just keep moving,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
because there's people watching Dr. Whitty today. And
Mm,
I'm sure there's people that are saying, oh, whatever. But that's why I try not to watch. Well, how many people's watching the podcast? Or, well, how come, my family member didn't click in and join in? I don't worry about it. Once I give you the information, it's your choice.
hmm.
So I'm like, I'm going to put this out there, because those that want to hear it, they are the ones that are going to take note, and that something that comes across, whether it's coming from me or a guest on my show, is going to change somebody's life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree with that. What do you hope listeners take away from each episode of your show?
Perspective transformation. That's what I hope they take away. That means whatever I came in thinking, I'm not thinking the same way.
Hmm.
Not unless you were already thinking correctly. If you were thinking correctly, then maybe something you heard was an addition to what you already thought, that you can take and add it to what you already have. But
Hmm.
if you're somebody that, maybe you just wasn't thinking right, or you didn't know about something, I want something that is said to change your perspective about you and where you're going.
Mm. How do you select guests whose stories reflect the essence of transformation?
Well, the way that I select guests um, is normally when I come across different platforms that impact me,
Hmm.
and I believe that it'll impact someone else. Those are people that I select to come on my show. If I Sometimes I'll be on a platform, or sometimes I'll get a notification about a book that somebody authored. And if that book impacts me, then I want to talk. I want that person on my show to talk about their book. And then I'm also putting their book on my website. And I'm also putting their book on my table when I go to speak.
Hmm.
So, and just to add, another reason for the platform is because it gives another platform, a positive platform for people like us to be on, to get your information out there, to get your book out there, to get your name out there, to support, so that we support each other, um, and not always be out there being taken advantage of by some of the other platforms that you could be on.
Yes, sir.
Because everybody is not honest. With some people, it's all about money.
Yep. You got
All
that
about It's
100%.
all about money and clicks and all of that, and I don't want to be a part of that. I realize it takes money to do things, and I do get it. I understand it, and I know at some point, you know, I'm going to be a part of that crew where, hey, I'm going to be flowing in it. I declare it, you know, but I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to be one of those people that's out there just creating things for people to, you know, send in money or click here or click there. I want, if you click here or you click there or you buy something from me, I want it to be meaningful and impactful. And anything meaning and impactful is rare.
Mhm. What episode has generated the most community response and why?
You know, that is a good question. And to be honest with you, I would have to go back and check the analytics because I don't pay attention to it. Um, I see views, but again, I try not to pay attention to it because I don't want to be wrapped around how many people are watching.
Mhm.
But I know that, um, let me see if I could think of an episode. I know the mental health episodes have gotten a lot of viewership.
Oh.
And an episode I did called Black Boys Matter.
Mhm.
Um, and an episode I did called King, uh, by Dr. Ian Buchanan.
Mhm.
Those are he did a leadership model and he wrote a book, and the leadership model is KING, um, and so that's a powerful book. Um, so those are episodes that come to mind that I believe were very impactful and that impacted a lot of people.
In what ways does your podcast create healing and learning within the Black community?
In what ways?
Yes,
Well,
sir.
first of all, by being present,
Mhm.
and by having people on the platform where that is their mission.
Mhm.
So if your mission is not to change minds, to change perspectives, to change behaviors, to change attitudes, to change spaces, if your mission is not to do that in a positive way for our community, then, you know, kudos to whatever you got going on, but you're probably not going to be a guest on Dr. Woody today.
That's what's up. Also, I remember I reached out to you and I informed you that we do Black History 365.
Mhm.
And when I asked you who were the most influential people in your life and your career in Black history, you mentioned MLK, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, and TD Jakes. Can you tell us why are Martin Luther King, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, and TD Jakes such defining influences in your life?
Um, I think for MLK, everything he stands for in terms of his servant leadership, the things that he has done for us as a community,
Mhm,
it's all worthy and it's inspiring, and so I
mhm,
think he is uh, at the top of the list when it comes to uh, what I would call excellent servant leadership, um, for a community that needs it.
mhm,
Um, as far as Michael, Diana, um, one of my hobbies is singing. And so At a young age, I was very shy. I was bullied. Um, and, one day I came across music, and believe it or not, the first people that I imitated was Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers because I heard country first. but
Oh, wow.
once I came to know R&B,
Mhm.
Michael and Diana were the two people that just stood out to me because of their way of uh, just drawing you in to their performances. They seemed so passionate about what they did that you could not help but be drawn in and inspired by it. And so they gave me the boldness and just the excitement to want to perform. So that's why I like them a lot. And Bishop Jakes, like I said, him, Joyce Meyer, and a lot of other people, but he was probably the first. Um, well, actually, he was one of the first that was in the public eye because there were other people that inspired me before him,
Mhm.
but I say him as a public figure because I remember just watching him, just buying his books, I mean, every VCR tape I had was one of his messages. And so they were always empowering to me. They were anytime I shared them with somebody, they was always empowering to them. And so that is why I mentioned those people. Yeah.
So, how do each of these figures reflect different aspects of your own journey, spiritual, artistic, communal, and professional?
Okay, that's a loaded question. You got to ask me that one more time.
How do each of these figures reflect different aspects of your own journey, spiritual, artistic, communal, and professional?
Oh gosh. Well, MLK inspired me because you know I feel like he always stood for something greater than himself, and so I think he's a good example of the types of things that you can go through as a leader, and you have to be steadfast and unmovable because you're going to encounter a lot of things, but you have to remember your why and stand flat footed in your why and in your purpose. And I think he was a good example of that. No matter what happened to him, he said, "No, we're gonna practice civil disobedience. We're not gonna fight. We're not gonna do." And he stood on that.
Mhm.
Um, as far as let's say Michael or Diana, I feel like they were visionaries. They could see. They knew what they wanted to do. They also encountered a lot of different things in their journey that they could have quit. Not always being understood, always having ideas about things that other people couldn't see,
Mhm.
but they were masters at what they did. And so that's what I want to be. I want to be a master at what I do. I
Mhm.
don't want to be what's that what does it say? I can't think of it right now, but a person who knows how to do a little bit of everything, but
Mhm.
they are a master of nothing.
Yes, that's the
I don't,
jack of all trades,
yeah,
master of
I don't
none.
want, yeah, yeah, I don't want to be a jack of all trades, but master of none. I
Mhm.
want to be a master of something, even if that something is mastering myself.
Right.
So, and that's what I like about them. I consider them masters of their craft, and that's what I want to be. Oh,
Um,
go
what's a leadership trait from MLK that guides your coaching today?
authenticity.
Mm.
Authenticity. Um, and if I can say two words, I'm gonna say integrity.
Okay.
Authenticity and integrity. And let me break that down. Um, You want to be authentic because people can see through fakeness.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be authentic about uh, yourself. You want to be authentic about um, what you say and what you do, just how you show up in the space,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to be integral as well about your processes and things that you discuss and talk about with your client. But I also and also in being integral, because some people think that integrity means you never failed or you never did anything. No, integrity is though I failed, I own it and I use it to help other people make better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So authenticity and integrity, those are two things that are high on the list. And we don't always get it right. I don't always get it right, but I strive to get it right.
What did you learn from Michael Jackson about global connection and expression?
I would say just discipline, discipline, and no matter what people think, do your thing.
Okay.
Because he was very disciplined. He was, like I said, he was a master at what he did. He was disciplined. People thought he was weird. People called him wacko jacko, whatever the case might be. But when he hit that stage, he commanded it from the time he hit it to the time he walked off.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was a master at his craft. And so when I mount a stage, that is the goal. Master it and command it from the time I mount the platform to the time I walk away. That when I walk away, the experience that you had will go with you. It
Mm-hmm.
don't stay, it's not back there, but it goes with you and it still impacts you every single day moving out into the future. I mean, there's things that you can think about Michael from years ago that still may impact you today. He's not even here anymore, but if you hear his song in the store while you grocery shopping, you might get the tap in your feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
that means that it impacted you in such a way that it became a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't even think about it. When you hear it, you respond.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the kind of impact that I think we all should strive to have is that however we show up, whatever space we show up in, when people experience us, that it goes with them in a positive way. And no matter what happens, if they encounter something, a struggle, a challenge, that they remember something we said and they immediately respond. Their attitude quickly changes and make sure that they go in the direction that they need to go in.
How does Donna Ross's legacy of elegance and empowerment inform your approach with your clients?
Well, one thing I liked about her is she was always social, and with her, she's not the only one, but there are certain people, because I think Michael was like that too, but there are certain people that when you see them, you don't think you see color, but they have a way of impacting people regardless of their color, their culture, their background, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I loved about them too. Not just them, because there are other artists like that too. But whatever you do, it should impact the human being, not just your race.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can do certain things that you specifically do for your race, but on a larger scale, whatever you do, make it impactful to the human being.
What Whitney Houston embodied both brilliance and struggle. How do you channel those dualities in your message?
Brilliance. Did you say brilliance?
Brilliance and struggle.
Well, I tell you what, you're not going to be brilliant without struggle. That's for sure.
Mhm.
And so everybody has a story. Everybody had a road to drive. Everybody had a hill to climb, a valley to go through. No matter what you see, learn a person's story because it's something more than just what you see. And that's
Mhm.
why it's important not to be judgmental because you don't, everybody has a story, everybody has a testimony, and everybody wants their story to be heard, to be listened to be valued. And
Mhm.
so with her, you know, I I don't necessarily know, but I just know the moment that I heard her, I just thought she was, you know, beautiful. I loved her voice. I just liked everything about her. And, you know, no, I didn't know all the things that she was going through. It was quite sad. Um, and I don't want to get into that. But, you know, the things that she stood for and what I thought about her, that's just how she impacted me. Like I said, I was a singer myself, and used to go around singing and doing shows. I did, you know, sung in the military, went around the world singing and things like that. And so things that I learned from different people that I admired, those are things I took with me in my performance. I knew how to connect to the audience and draw people in to the performance. I knew how to sell the performance, but I learned it from people like Michael, Diana, Whitney.
Mhm. So, what lessons from TD Jakes do you most want young Black leaders to absorb?
Don't drop the mic.
Don't
Don't
drop.
quit. Don't drop the mic. Don't quit and soar.
Mm,
Because anytime you want to be remembered, you will face challenges and you will face struggle.
mm. And let's go over here into this final segment here. We're going to talk about community impact and your consulting. Can you tell us how has your coaching philosophy translated into broader community action?
Well, I'll tell you what, some of the things that I'm looking at doing is I am building a partnership with a credit and restoration institute where, you know, I do a lot of things with them. Um, this will be my second year. Basically, they put on a mental health exhibit where they invite different speakers in. I was actually the facilitator of it last year. I'm going to be a part of it this year where I'll be out and have a kiosk and we'll be actually interviewing people about their experience at the mental health welfare um, thing that they're putting on. So that's something that I'm doing. Another thing is I'm talking to another young lady about hosting an event that delivers bras to women who have had cancer and maybe have lost a breast. There are special bras that these ladies need. So I'm talking to her about putting on an event, and basically it's a fundraiser to get money to purchase these bras that these patients need because a lot of them can't afford it because the bras are quite expensive. So I'm looking into doing something with that just to do something for the community. So those are two things that I'm doing right now. And then eventually, what I want to do is I want to actually have Dr. Woody Today live somewhere in my city and just invite some of the uh, previous guests or new guests and just offer it as a something for people to come out and learn about and to possibly become a part of the community.
Mm, I like that. What are the most common challenges you see when working with organizations?
Communication.
Mm,
Communication, um, and just sometimes, you have people that are insecure. So everybody is not always, open to your ideas or open to helping you for whatever reason. Sometimes it's legitimate, sometimes it's insecurity. Um, and sometimes people just don't, have time or actually want to be involved. So just sometimes it's just selling um, your idea to get people to be involved in whatever it is you're trying to do.
mm. How do you guide clients to see themselves as agents of change in their communities?
Well, the way I guide them is I talk to them and about their strengths, things that they can bring to the table. Find out what the need is in your community, and if you're a person who has access to whatever that need, you have access to resources to fulfill that need, or if you yourself provides that service, then we can talk about how you can bring that service to the community. So those are ways that I talk to clients about it. If they are people that are trying to get involved with community work, because sometimes people are not, but if they are, then I want to know, what are your strengths? What are you good at? What is it that you do and you do better than anybody else? Or at least you do it in a way that it can become of service to someone in the community.
So tell us, what's that one community success story that stays with you?
Community success story. Well, I'll tell you what. Um, for right now, I would say a community success story is just being able to to be able to be recognized as a person in the community that has value and can bring value. Because, like I said, with this one agency that I'm working with, they did not have to embrace me. They did not have to invite me, but the people that I've met, that I have established relationship with, they're very excited about me supporting their ventures. And so, like I said, I was host of one of their ventures last year, and they brought me back on. And they were also guests on my podcast. So that's a part of building community. And so I think that is a success. And I'm still working on other businesses in the area. For instance, my personal trainer, I'm trying to get him on so that he can talk about health. But not only that, so people can see that they have a person in the neighborhood that uh, is a fitness trainer. Also, one of the stores, the new stores in the area, they sell male clothing. And so I told them I would do a free commercial advertising their business. So
Mhm.
those are things that I call um, successes, and that I'm working on to build relationships, to get people out there, and to use my platform in powerful, engaging, and positive way.
How do you embed cultural relevance into your consulting practices?
How do I embed cultural
Cultural
relevance?
relevance, yes.
Well, I want to first say coaching practices. You said consulting.
Mhm.
Um, um, well, culture always have to be relevant, and so um, first of all, when somebody comes, like I said, I have to be culturally humble. I have to make sure there's a fit, and I have to make sure that I'm aware of my biases, and I have to make sure that that I learn about them first before I attempt to coach them. So I have to make sure that I learn about them, what's important to them, and what they want to achieve, and then I begin coaching.
Mhm. And final question here. in your view, what does healing look like on a community level?
I think healing on a community level would be uh, conversations. Hello, how are you? How are you feeling? Check-ins,
Mhm.
fellowship, not just when something bad happens, but because, just because I'm coming to check on you. Let's do this and let's do this together. Let's
Mhm.
put down our phones and tablets. No phone tablet zone. And let's have fun. Let's have conversations. Let's sit down and break bread.
Mhm.
Healing would be a long time ago where you knew everybody in the neighborhood, around the corner, down the street, where it was a community of people.
Mhm.
And you know, first of all, the community has to be healed, and then the community can help each other raise each other.
Mhm.
That's what it would look like.
So, in closing, do you have any words of wisdom, comments, things you would like for our audience to know? How they can connect with you on social media, go to your website, your YouTube channels. What are some of those things you'd like for our audience to know?
I would just like them to know that Dr. Woody Today comes on every other Monday at 7 p.m. We air on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. So if you're out there and you want some engagement, some empowerment, some motivation, you really want to learn some things about yourself and others, that's the platform. We come on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got some exciting episodes coming up. And if you have any that you would like us to talk about, then reach out and let us know. My website is www.drwhitty.org. You can go there to learn more about me. You can also go there to book me if you want me to come and speak. Um, what else? I just encourage people to reach their potential, to surround themselves with people that are for them and want to see them win. And don't limit yourself. The sky is not the limit unless the sky is where you plan to quit.
Mhm. Well, I'm thankful that you came to the show today, Dr. Whitty, and it was really wonderful. And I hope that we can get you back again.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
I definitely appreciate, the things that you're doing because, again, it's one of those platforms that I think not only do people deserve to know about, but it's also where people need to, just venture and spread it out and learn a whole lot more on a lot of different subject matters that can make their lives that much better. For those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, I definitely appreciate you for watching. If you have not yet, supported us by subscribing and getting all the notifications, I would appreciate if you would do that for us. Therefore, you'll be able to watch all the shows when they come on live, and you're also able to go back and watch all the previous recorded shows. You can leave us questions, comments, things you want to see, and just let us know. As we got this wonderful message today from Dr. Whitty, Dr. Whitty, just gave us lots and lots of insight as to what's important when it comes to our everyday well-being. There's many, many ways of going about that. And if it's from, his coaching practices, which is what we started out with, which really means a lot because sometimes a lot of us do hit that brick wall or we get to that obstacle where we can't get over that hurdle. Sometimes you need a little help. That's the service, and that's what he provides to help you to get through those things. It's people like Dr. Whitty that when situations like this occur and you do need that coaching, you need to know who that person is that can help you to best get through that situation. I do think that as he gave out this information, I hope that each and every last one of you would at least take the time to go out and not only check out the website, check out his show, follow him on social media, learn a lot of other things, especially about your well-being, because right now we're in a state here in this country right now that there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's causing a lot of anxiety, and a lot of people are actually getting to that point that there are obstacles that they just do not know how to get over. So here's a person that's here that can help you do that. I want to thank you all for watching. We had another great show tonight, and I would appreciate if you all could come back again tomorrow night, as we have another great show that will be just as empowering, because we're going to be talking about investments. Please join us on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on America's canvas. I'm your host, Charles King, and please have a wonderful evening. Thank you again, Dr. Whitty, and you all.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I will definitely be in touch with you, because there's some things I definitely will